and welcome to Imagine This Stories. I'm so glad you're here today. We have a fun story. When my cousin Beth was little, she had a pet goldfish. She named it Rainbow Sparkle Miller. It's a pretty good name for a fish, if you ask me. Have you ever named a fish? If I had a goldfish, I might name it Cheddar. What would you name a pet goldfish? While you're thinking about it, sit back, relax, kick off your shoes, and for the next few minutes, imagine this. There once was a man named Jonah. The name Jonah means pigeon or dove, by the way. This isn't really relevant, other than when God called him, he flew the coop. Anyway, one day God told Jonah, I want you to go to the city of Nineveh and tell the people there that they are living in a way that I don't like. They need to make some changes. But instead of heading to Nineveh, Jonah went in the opposite direction. He found a boat that was headed to Tarshish. He bought a ticket and got on board. Once they had been traveling for a little while, the Lord sent a giant wind, and such a violent storm arose that the ship looked like it was going to break apart. All the sailors were afraid and cried out, each one to their own god. They started to throw cargo into the sea to try to lighten the ship. What do you imagine Jonah was doing while all this was happening? Believe it or not, he was below deck, sound asleep. The captain ran to him and said, How can you sleep? Get up, call on your God. Maybe he'll take notice of us so we will not perish. Then the sailors, who were used to storms at sea, said to each other, This isn't right. Let's cast lots to find out who's responsible for this crazy storm. This means that they tossed a coin or pulled a name out of a hat or did something to ask God who was responsible for this out-of-the-ordinary weather. So they did this, and the answer was Jonah. They ran to Jonah. Tell us, who's responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? What people are you from? Jonah said, I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Oh, and I should probably mention, God asked me to do something, but instead of doing it, I'm running away. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they said to him, What should we do to make the sea calm down for us? Jonah said, Pick me up and throw me into the sea, and it will become calm. I know it's my fault that this great storm has come upon you. But the men didn't want to do this. They did their best to row back to land, but they couldn't, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, Please, Lord, don't let us die for taking this man's life. Don't hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased. Then they picked up Jonah and threw him overboard. Instantly, the raging sea grew calm. Well, as you can imagine, this sort of freaked the sailors out. Jonah, on the other hand, was bobbing along in the sea when a giant fish came along and swallowed him whole. I'm going to stop for a minute and say, I have no idea what kind of fish this was. Was it a whale? Was it a huge grouper? A special fish that God created for this very moment? I honestly have no idea, but I don't have to understand it to believe it. So here's Jonah in the belly of this big fish. I cannot imagine this smelled very good. He was there for 3 days and 3 nights. Goo. While he was there, what do you imagine Jonah did? Well, other than hold his nose, he prayed. God heard his prayers and caused the fish to vomit Jonah out onto the beach. Again, ooh. God then told Jonah, Get up, go to Nineveh, and tell the people they need to change their ways. They have 40 days or their city will be destroyed. Do you imagine Jonah listened this time? He did. And guess what? The people listened to him. Everyone from the king to the servants begged God to forgive them. God saw that they had changed their ways and forgave them and kept his word and did not destroy the city. This made Jonah angry. When God saw how angry Jonah was, he asked him, Why are you angry? Did you make these people? Did they sin against you? No, said Jonah, but They were bad people and they deserved to be punished. When 40 days were up, Jonah went up onto a hill and sat down to see if maybe God had changed his mind and would destroy the city after all. As he was sitting there, God caused a giant plant to grow up and provide Jonah with shade. This made Jonah really happy. Later, God sent a worm to eat the plant and kill it, so Jonah was back to sitting in the sun. This did not make Jonah happy. When God did not destroy the city of Nineveh, Jonah was angry again. God asked him, "Why are you angry about the plant, but you don't care about the 120,000 people living in the city? That's messed up." But sometimes we're like that, aren't we? We get upset when something bad happens to us, but don't always care as much when something bad happens to someone we really don't like. Sometimes I need to remember, even the people I think are mean or unkind, God loves them. That doesn't mean God likes what they're doing, but he loves the people and wants them to get to know him. I need to pray and ask God to help me love people too. All people. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Want to hear something cool? A long time ago in England, there was a boy named John Newton. When John was young, he got into a lot of trouble. He didn't listen to his teachers, he made fun of others, and as he got older, he made some terrible choices. He ran away from home and joined a ship's crew, but instead of finding adventure, John's life became worse. He made bad friends, got into fights, and even worked on a ship that captured people and forced them into slavery. Something very wrong and cruel. But one night, while he was on the ship during a terrible storm, John was sure the ship would sink. He was so scared that he cried out to God for help, even though he hadn't talked to God in years. Amazingly, the storm calmed down and the ship survived. John realized his life needed to change. He promised to follow God and become a better person. And he did. John quit working on those bad ships and started telling others how wrong slavery was. He helped fight to make it illegal. He also became a pastor and wrote a very famous song you might have heard of, Amazing Grace. This song talks about how even people who've made really big mistakes can be forgiven and start over. John Newton's life shows that with God, no one is too far gone to turn around and change. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you'll share this podcast with other people. Have a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon as we imagine this. Bye.